Hey, and welcome back to Embody Your Truth, Lesson 5. So today we're going to be talking about remembrance. Now, this is one of my favorite things to talk about because we get to talk about the innocence and the essence and the beauty of who we are in the core of who we are. None of this ego-identified mind stuff. We get to kind of really return back to the home, which is in our heart and in our body, the natural intelligence of ourselves. So last lesson we talked about befriending the shadows and how our ego gets in the way of befriending our shadows, and our mind tells us the story of who we are, and we need to kind of liberate ourselves from that. So today's going to be about how we can do that through the art and the practice of remembrance. So I want to first kind of set the stage for, how we get away from, why do we even need to remember in the first place? Because if we say the word remembrance, it means that we've gone to somewhere and now we need to remember it. We need to return back to it, okay? So where are we now? And how did we get there to get to this place where we need to actually return to remembering? And that is through what I call domestication. So domestication happens when usually we develop kind of like this ability to see other people's reactions to us and internalize them around the age of 7. Child psychologists tend to, in the literature, say around the age of 7 is when you start to kind of have this happen. And what we do is we start to notice other people noticing us, and we start to kind of see this playing out. And that's when we get domesticated into developing an ego, which is seeing other people's reactions to us and us having to feel like we have to be somebody because we now have an audience. And so what ends up happening is adults start to tell us, don't behave this way, or you don't do this, you don't do that, because these people are going to judge you, or they'll see this about you. And then because we're fearful as adults, we don't want people to see our child do something because our child is an extension of us, and we don't want to have to experience shame, right? So again, domestication is all about preservation, and we conform, and then we get shamed if we steer away from what we're supposed to be conforming to. So this is, in my opinion, this is the human experience right there. We come into this world pure as hell, and we move through and we become distorted about who we are, and the spiritual journey is about remembrance of who we are. And that's what's so beautiful about being able to do this work with you guys, is that I get to help be a guide, somebody that can help walk you home to the truth of who you are and remember who you are. So remembrance is going to really be about returning to this playful, energetic, essential energy of who we are, and we do that by I like to call it unraveling the ego. The thing about unraveling the ego is we actually need an ego to survive as human beings. The ego gets the bad rap, but it's not something we want to be identifying with. And if we do identify with it, we want to identify with it with consciousness and understand and have self-awareness around it. And that's when we start to unravel it, and we start to interact with the world from a more soul-based place, from a more the essence of who we are, and we don't need the ego as much anymore. And then the ego kind of renders, the energy of the ego renders itself not useful anymore, and it integrates that energy back into our soul, and that's the embodiment of truth. That's the alignment of who we are, when the ego and the soul become back to one again, which is who you were when you were a child and you were playful. And that's why inner child work is so profound in this journey of authenticity, which we're going to talk about today. So through domestication, I remember for myself when I was going through puberty, oh my God, it was such an awkward time for me. And that's when I developed a lot of my self-animosity. My teeth were bigger than my head was bigger than my body, and I just looked weird. And you're getting pubic hair, and all these weird things are happening to your body, and it's so easy to start to reject yourself for feeling disgusting and gross and weird. And that's when we have this real, first true taste of maybe self-hate or self-animosity, self-rejection, whatever it might be. So that's that's the birthplace of it all, okay? And then what ends up happening is we cultivate this energy around how we feel about ourselves, and we have this mental image of how we feel about ourselves, and it's really hard to shake that. For a lot of people that have struggled with body dysmorphia, they understand that, it's not about the image that the mirror has for you, and it's not about how you see yourself in pictures, it's about the mental image we have of ourselves, and that plays into so much of this when it comes to self-rejection, and is one of the biggest barriers to remembrance and returning to who we are. So again, I know I feel like I sound like a broken record, but how we do this is we do it through the present moment. Okay, this is the doorway to remembrance. This is the doorway to becoming back to our essence, is through the present moment. Because when we're identified with mind, we're identified with ego, and the ego is the entity, the structure in our mind that we created to protect ourselves from the world around us by creating a false sense of self, because that's how we interact with the world to become acceptable, right? When we're interacting with the world through our masked self, or our personas, or our facades, we feel safer, right? If I bring forward my authenticity and I get rejected for exactly who I am, that can be a lot more painful than being rejected by a mask that I wear. If I get rejected by a mask I wear, I simply take that mask off and I put a different one on, right? It's almost like it becomes an armor that we wear. That's what the ego does for us. So the thing about the ego is that we need to understand that it provides us value. Okay, it provided us a lot of value, and I think what ends up happening is we reject it. On the journey towards authenticity, we reject it at first and we become angry at it. But what we need to do is we actually need to send it love, and we need to send it gratitude for providing us what it provided us. So for example, for me, my ego, it kept me safe. It allowed me to develop a facade of who I needed to be at the time to keep myself safe from feeling rejection for being gay and those sorts of things. So I created this facade of being ultra masculine and whatever it was. Okay. And then I created a facade around having it all together and being a perfectionist. And, that allowed me to get a lot of great work done. It allowed me to, motivate myself. It allowed me to feel inspired. It allowed me to create 2 businesses, and it was ego driven. So there's a lot of value that the ego can bring you, but it's not going to bring you any value on the journey towards becoming more authentic. That's a matter of the heart, right? And we cannot solve matters of the heart with the mind. So we need to drop into the present moment. We need to become more connected to our body and stillness if we want to remember the truth of who we are, because that's a body experience, that's an energetic experience, and that is going to happen by being in touch with that aspect of ourselves. So again, the truth of who we are, the essence energy of who we are, a lot of times for people can feel so far away, and it can feel so distant because they've created all these masks and all these images of who people want them to be, and blah 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 blah, and we become distorted. So I always say, return yourself to the present moment, return yourself to who you are by being you, and start with just you alone. And dance in the shower, be goofy, be silly, say funny things, all that sort of stuff. That's the energy of who you are. And that's what we want to return to. But what we need to learn is how to return to it in the presence of others, because we feel all of these feelings of shame and whatever that's preventing us from having these experiences. So if you're a little bit muddled on who you are and what your essence energy is, start to play with yourself. Start to play with yourself. Start to play with the energy of who you are. When you're by yourself, because that's going to be a big part of helping you return there. And another aspect for people, whenever people are like, I'm not sure who I am, and who you are is who you are when you're inspired. Okay, when you're inspired to create, when you're inspired to connect, when you're inspired to be, to feel, all those things, that's who you are, right? So allow yourself to be inspired. Watch inspirational YouTube videos, go out into nature, be inspired by the awe of what this beautiful planet does for us. Be inspired by, the intelligence your body has. Like, I'm breathing and I'm talking right now, and my cells are dividing and all this stuff's happening in my body, and I'm not having to do anything about it, right? It's magnificent. We're magnificent. And that's what we want to return to, right? Is this really cool energy of who we are when we're inspired, when we're alone, and then making that journey to be able to share that inspiration and that essence of who you are with other people. And that's when, oh man, the connections are so cool when you get to bring forth all of who you are and feel connected to somebody else through that energy. It really, there's nothing better in my opinion. Okay, so playfulness is how we do this, right? Playfulness is how we do this when we're at home, we're goofy, we're silly, we're playing, we're drawing, we're singing, all that sort of stuff. That's playfulness, okay? The inner child of us has been domesticated. It feels shame if we're too silly. We're supposed to be professional. We're adults. We have to have it all together, blah, 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 right? We've internalized those messages. So the key is to let go. Let go, surrender, allow yourself to play, schedule playtime into your day. I promise you, your life will change. And that might just be singing, do karaoke, dance, whatever it's going to be. Allow yourself to play every single day, and let go of the judgments when you're playing. Like, you don't have to judge yourself. You're an adult. Adults play too. Okay. So that really is inner child work. So there's wounded inner child work, where we can go in and we can talk to our inner child, and we can be the parent to our inner child that we didn't feel like we got growing up. And that's about holding space for yourself. That's about allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel, and returning yourself to maybe a scenario that happened where you felt like you were out of control, that you didn't have control, that you felt unsafe, and being there for yourself now. Okay, that's one approach to the inner child work. The other approach to the inner child work is to clear the space in your life to allow yourself to play. And that's what I'm going to suggest for us in this course, is the playful aspects of inner child work, and allow yourself to engage in some fun. So the skill to practice is going to be playfulness, and talk to your inner child. Start to connect with yourself. And when you're in the play, allow yourself to just be in the play. Don't get into the mental tapes of that. Just allow yourself to have fun. It's going to be a great way to connect to yourself. And the affirmation, again, breathe, hands on heart. And we're going to say, I am complete just the way I am. I am complete just the way I am. That's the affirmation of remembrance, because you are complete just the way you are. Your mind might tell you it's not, but your mind isn't who you are. The mind isn't the truth of who you are. It's down here, okay? So I do have a quote I want to share out of my book. Okay, self-acceptance happens in the present moment because you tune into all that you are, not all that your mind tells you you aren't. The present moment is void of story. Story is what creates opportunity for judgment, because it's through story where we get to choose whether we like or dislike, agree or disagree, etc. The less opportunity for story, the less opportunity for us to identify with something that isn't actually us. We are not our stories. Our stories are our experiences, and we are also not our experiences. Our experiences are an aspect of what forms what we are, not who we are. The who we are would exist regardless of the presence of experience, because it is the life force that enables you to engage in the experiences in the first place. What we are is the role we play in life. The personas, masks, identities. I am a son, coach, brother, cat, friend, cat dad, friend, yoga student, fitness enthusiast, food lover, etc. These things do not make up who I am. They make up what I am and how I choose to participate in this world. They provide others a glimpse of who I may be based on how I choose to participate in the world. They offer insight into my interests or tribes to which I belong, but they are not who I am. Who I am is a much deeper aspect of my being. It is the energy that radiates from the inner body of my being. The soul is the closest way for us to conceptualize the who of our being. I am that I am. I am nothing more and nothing less than the I amness of the energy that radiates from my inner being. That's it right there, friends. That's it right there. So play around with some of this stuff. Let's go with that for today. Sending you lots of love. Have a beautiful day.